During World War II, the Allies, under the leadership of generals like Dwight D. Eisenhower, were constantly looking for new and effective ways to gain an upper hand over the German forces. One of the most revolutionary pieces of weaponry that shocked the Germans was the bazooka. This relatively simple yet highly effective anti-tank weapon became a critical tool of victory in the Allied arsenal. The bazooka, with its devastating impact and ease of use, turned infantrymen into a formidable threat to German tanks and fortifications. The weapon's introduction into the battlefield not only changed the course of battles, but also signaled a new era of warfare where technology and innovation were as crucial as manpower. The Germans, who had long dominated the battlefield with their advanced tanks and mechanized units, were caught off guard by this tool of victory that quickly became a game changer. This speech will explore the development, deployment, and strategic significance of the bazooka, highlighting how it transformed the battlefield and gave the Allies a critical advantage. The development of the bazooka is one of the most fascinating aspects of military innovation during World War II. The origins of the bazooka can be traced back to the need for an effective, portable weapon that could disable or destroy the heavily armored German tanks and vehicles. The weapon that would become known as the bazooka was a direct response to the German blitzkrieg tactics, where fast, moving mechanized divisions made it difficult for traditional infantry weapons to effectively engage tanks. As the war progressed and the Allies faced off against the formidable German panzers, the need for an anti-tank weapon became critical. Early on, infantrymen were left with little more than hand grenades and anti-tank rifles, which were largely ineffective against the thick armor of German tanks. The first significant step in the development of the bazooka came from a man named Dr. Robert H. Goddard, a rocket pioneer and physicist, who was instrumental in shaping the idea of a rocket-propelled weapon. While Goddard's work on rockets was not directly related to the bazooka, his innovations in rocketry laid the groundwork for future developments. In the early 1940s, a team of engineers and military experts, led by American inventor and engineer Dr. Theodore Hall, began experimenting with the idea of attaching a small rocket to a warhead that could be fired from a shoulder-mounted launcher. Their aim was to create a portable weapon that could be carried by a single soldier and could penetrate the thick armor of German tanks. By 1942, this concept had taken shape in the form of the bazooka. Named after a popular musical instrument played by a comedian named Bob Burns, who had a unique, homemade instrument resembling a bazooka. The first prototype was a relatively crude design, but it showed promise. The weapon was made of a metal tube about 3 feet long, with a simple rocket, propelled grenade, RPG that could be launched at armored targets. The first rockets used in the bazooka had an armor-piercing warhead, which made them effective against the German tanks, whose armor was impervious to standard infantry weapons. As the prototype was refined, the Army began testing the bazooka in various conditions. One of the key features that made the bazooka so attractive to the U.S. Army was its portability. Soldiers could carry the weapon over their shoulders, allowing them to fire at tanks or other vehicles from a relatively safe distance. It was small, lightweight, and easy to use, which meant that it could be deployed in a wide variety of combat situations. In addition, the bazooka could be aimed with a simple sight, making it far more user-friendly than other, more complicated anti-tank weapons of the time. By 1943, the bazooka was ready for combat, and it was first deployed during the Italian campaign, where American forces quickly realized its effectiveness. The weapon's impact on the battlefield was immediate. Infantry units could now engage tanks in ways they never could before. The weapon's ability to destroy German tanks from a distance without requiring the soldier to be close enough to be in danger of enemy fire was revolutionary. As American forces advanced through Europe, the bazooka became a standard issue for many infantry divisions. One of the most notable features of the bazooka was its psychological impact on German forces. The Germans, who had become accustomed to their own tanks dominating the battlefield, were suddenly faced with an enemy infantryman who could destroy their most powerful weapon with a single shot. The fear of the bazooka was widespread, as it made German tanks far more vulnerable than they had been in previous years of the war. German soldiers who had once been able to approach Allied infantry with relative impunity now had to consider the threat posed by the bazooka. This fear contributed to the confusion and disarray that German forces often experienced when facing Allied infantry supported by bazookas. Another reason the bazooka was so effective was that it leveled the playing field between infantry and tanks. Prior to the development of the bazooka, tanks had been the most powerful weapon on the battlefield, able to crush infantry and destroy fortifications with ease. The bazooka, however, allowed soldiers to target the weaknesses in tanks' armor, such as the tracks, turret ring, and engine compartments. With a direct hit, these vital parts could be disabled, rendering the tank useless. In a time when tanks were often considered the ultimate weapon of war, the bazooka was a game changer. The introduction of the bazooka also had broader strategic implications. It allowed for a more flexible approach to warfare, where infantry could engage tanks without relying solely on artillery or air support. This flexibility proved especially valuable during the D-Day invasion and the subsequent push into Germany. The bazooka was particularly useful in urban warfare, where tanks and other armored vehicles were often used to clear streets and buildings. The ability to disable a tank from a distance, even in narrow streets, made it an indispensable tool for the Allies. The success of the bazooka did not go unnoticed by the Germans. In response, they developed their own version of the bazooka, known as the Panzerstreck. However, while the Panzerstreck was effective in its own right, it was not as effective as the American bazooka, particularly because it was heavier and more cumbersome. The German version also had a shorter effective range and was more difficult to use in close combat situations. As the war progressed, the bazooka continued to evolve. Its design was improved, and newer versions became even more effective at destroying tanks. The introduction of larger rockets, such as the 3.5-inch bazooka, provided even greater firepower. However, despite its growing power, the bazooka never lost its core appeal, its simplicity and portability. It remained an accessible weapon for soldiers on the front lines, allowing them to engage tanks and other armored vehicles with minimal training. The bazooka's role in World War II cannot be overstated. It played a crucial part in the Allied victory, providing infantry with the means to combat one of the most dominant forces on the battlefield, the German tank. It was a weapon that not only altered the course of individual battles, but also helped to shape the strategic decisions of the war. The development and deployment of the bazooka marked a turning point in the way warfare was fought, paving the way for future innovations in infantry weaponry and anti-tank technology. The D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944, was a turning point in World War II. It marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany as the Allied forces launched a massive amphibious assault on the beaches of Normandy, France. The success of this invasion was critical to the Allied strategy of liberating Western Europe from German occupation. Among the many tools that played a significant role in the success of D-Day, one of the most notable was the bazooka. The bazooka, a simple yet effective anti-tank weapon, had been developed and deployed by the United States Army prior to D-Day, and it quickly became one of the most important pieces of infantry equipment during the invasion. The Germans had heavily fortified the Normandy coast with tanks, artillery, and machine gun positions waiting to repel any attempt to land. One of the most significant threats that the Allies faced during the invasion was the German tanks, which were stationed near the beaches and in fortified positions. These tanks, particularly the German Panther and Tiger tanks, were among the most formidable armored vehicles of the war. Their thick armor and powerful guns made them nearly invulnerable to conventional infantry weapons. However, the bazooka provided American and Allied forces with a means to combat these tanks. As the infantry landed on the beaches of Normandy, they faced a battlefield where the threat of German tanks was imminent. Soldiers equipped with bazookas were able to neutralize many of the tanks that attempted to counter the invasion, especially when the tanks were unable to maneuver effectively in the narrow confines of the beaches or in the urban areas that quickly became battle zones. One of the key advantages of the bazooka during the D-Day invasion was its portability. The weapon was lightweight and could be carried by individual soldiers, making it easy for infantry units to advance against German tank positions. Unlike heavier anti-tank guns, which required more men in support, the bazooka allowed soldiers to target tanks quickly and efficiently, without having to rely on cumbersome equipment or complex firing procedures. This was especially important in the chaos of the invasion, where quick decisions and rapid response times were essential. As American forces advanced inland from the beaches, the bazooka continued to prove invaluable in the subsequent campaigns. In the hedgerows of Normandy, where visibility was limited and the terrain was difficult to navigate, German tanks were able to take advantage of the terrain's concealment to ambush advancing infantry. The bazooka, with its ability to be fired from concealed positions, allowed soldiers to effectively target tanks and armored vehicles hiding in the hedgerows. The effectiveness of the bazooka in these conditions was a critical factor in the success of the Allied advance, as it allowed infantry to fight back against the German tanks that would otherwise have had a significant advantage in these close quarters situations. The impact of the bazooka was not limited to tank warfare. In addition to destroying tanks, the bazooka was also used to take out other key targets, such as German artillery positions and fortified structures. The powerful rocket-propelled grenade launched by the bazooka was capable of causing significant damage to buildings and defensive positions. As the Allies moved through France and into Germany, the ability to destroy fortified positions without requiring heavy artillery or air support gave the infantry a level of flexibility that was crucial to maintaining momentum on the battlefield. In the weeks and months following D-Day, the bazooka became a symbol of the ingenuity and adaptability of the American forces. While it was originally designed as an anti-tank weapon, the bazooka proved to be versatile enough to be used in a variety of situations, including in urban combat and in the close quarters battles that became common as Allied forces liberated French towns and cities. Its simplicity and effectiveness made it a valuable asset to the Allied troops, and it quickly became one of the most widely used weapons in the American and British arsenals. The bazooka also played a significant role in the liberation of France and the eventual defeat of German forces. As the Allies advanced toward Germany, the bazooka was used extensively to combat German armor and infantry. Its ability to take out tanks and other armored vehicles gave the Allies a significant advantage in the final stages of the war in Europe. By the time the Allies reached Germany, the bazooka had become an essential tool for infantry troops, and its use helped to tip the balance of power in favor of the Allies. Moreover, the bazooka's effectiveness in the D-Day invasion and the campaigns that followed highlighted the importance of innovation in warfare. The weapon's success was not just about the technical superiority of the bazooka itself, but also about the way it was integrated into the broader strategy of the Allies. Its simplicity, portability, and effectiveness made it an essential part of the overall war effort, and it allowed infantry units to engage the German forces in ways that were previously not possible. The role of the bazooka in the D-Day invasion and subsequent campaigns was a key factor in the success of the Allied forces. It provided soldiers with a powerful tool to combat German armor and fortifications, and it allowed infantry units to play a crucial role in the liberation of Europe. The success of the bazooka during this period also demonstrated the importance of adaptability and innovation in warfare, as the weapon was continually refined and improved to meet the changing needs of the battlefield. By the end of the war, the bazooka had cemented its place as one of the most iconic and effective weapons of World War II, and its impact on the outcome of the conflict cannot be overstated. The introduction of the bazooka onto the battlefield was a shock to German forces, particularly in the early stages of its deployment. German soldiers, who had been accustomed to the dominance of their own armored vehicles, were initially unprepared for the effectiveness of this new anti-tank weapon. The bazooka was a game changer, disrupting German expectations and forcing them to quickly adapt to a new kind of threat. The psychological impact of the bazooka was profound, as it fundamentally altered the balance of power between infantry and tanks. In the early stages of the war, German forces had largely dominated the battlefield with their use of tanks and mechanized infantry. The German blitzkrieg tactics, which emphasized fast, Coordinated strikes with tanks and air support had proven highly effective against the slower, more traditional Allied formations. Tanks, especially the fearsome Tiger and Panther models, were the centerpiece of German military power, and they were seen as nearly invincible. German soldiers relied heavily on these tanks to break through enemy lines and crush infantry resistance. However, the bazooka shattered this illusion of tank supremacy, making it clear that German tanks were vulnerable to well-placed attacks by infantry armed with this new weapon. The first encounters between German forces and the bazooka were disorienting for the Germans. The weapon's rocket-propelled grenades, capable of piercing thick armor, were unlike anything the Germans had encountered in their previous battles with Allied infantry. When American soldiers armed with bazookas began engaging German tanks from hidden positions, the effectiveness of the weapon became immediately apparent. German tank crews, who had once been able to engage infantry at will, suddenly found themselves under attack from a distance, without being able to locate the source of the threat. The first reaction of German tank crews was one of disbelief. German tanks, such as the Tiger, were considered the pinnacle of armored vehicle design at the time, with thick, sloped armor that was thought to be nearly impervious to most anti-tank weapons. The sudden appearance of infantry soldiers armed with bazookas, capable of disabling or destroying these heavily armored tanks, created confusion and fear within the German ranks. It was a stark reminder that no matter how advanced their tanks were, they were not invulnerable. The psychological impact on German soldiers went beyond just the tank crews. The sight of infantrymen carrying bazookas, which could destroy tanks in a single shot, disrupted the morale of German forces at every level. German infantry, once used to supporting their tanks in battle, found themselves questioning their own safety. The bazooka's ability to disable tanks from a distance made it difficult for German soldiers to predict where the next attack might come from. It also undermined the confidence that German commanders had in their tank units, which were once seen as the spearhead of their offensives. Furthermore, the fear of the bazooka led to changes in German tactics. Tank crews, once accustomed to charging into battle with little fear of infantry resistance, now had to be far more cautious. They began to avoid areas where they knew American infantry with bazookas were likely to be present, particularly in more confined spaces, such as urban areas, forests, or the hedgerows of Normandy. These new limitations on tank movement were significant, as they reduced the overall effectiveness of the German armored units. German tanks were now forced to rely more on support from infantry or artillery, which in turn placed more strain on German resources. German commanders, who had once been confident in the superiority of their tank formations, were now faced with a new reality. The presence of bazooka-equipped American infantry units forced them to reconsider their tactical approach. In many cases, the Germans began to prioritize the destruction of bazooka teams in an effort to neutralize the threat. This led to an increased focus on countermeasures, such as the use of infantry screens to protect tanks or the development of additional armor for German tanks to better withstand bazooka shots. However, these countermeasures were often ineffective, as the bazooka's ability to target weak spots in the tank's armor, such as the turret ring or engine compartment, meant that even heavily armored tanks were vulnerable. The German response to the bazooka also revealed a crucial difference between German and American strategies. While the Germans focused on countering the bazooka with their own anti-tank weapons, the Americans quickly adapted and used the bazooka in combination with other infantry tactics. The mobility and portability of the bazooka allowed American soldiers to attack German tanks from unexpected angles, making it difficult for the Germans to mount an effective defense. In contrast, the German response was slower and more reactive, as they struggled to develop countermeasures that could match the effectiveness of the bazooka on the battlefield. The shock and awe experienced by German forces when first encountering the bazooka was not just a matter of the weapon's effectiveness, but also of the sudden realization that their tanks, once considered the ultimate weapon of war, were no longer invincible. The psychological effect of this realization was profound, as it forced German soldiers to reconsider their assumptions about the nature of modern warfare. It also underscored the importance of innovation and adaptability in warfare. The bazooka was a symbol of the growing power of infantry in World War II, a time when new weapons were being developed and deployed rapidly, often changing the course of battles. The impact of the bazooka on German forces can be seen in the changes it wrought in the way the Germans approached armored warfare. In the aftermath of the bazooka's deployment, the German army found itself struggling to adapt to the new threat posed by infantry with portable anti-tank weapons. The effectiveness of the bazooka was a clear reminder that technological advancements could quickly tip the balance of power on the battlefield. For the Germans, the appearance of the bazooka was a wake-up call that would reverberate throughout the rest of the war. The shock of encountering the bazooka for the first time was not just limited to the battlefield. It was a psychological blow that affected German morale and tactics for the remainder of the conflict. As the war progressed and more bazookas were deployed, German forces continued to feel the pressure of this new weapon. The shock and awe experienced by the Germans were not merely reactions to a new weapon. They represented a broader realization that the war was shifting in favor of the Allies and that no amount of technological superiority could guarantee victory. The bazooka, as a tool of victory, played a pivotal role in that shift, providing the Allies with a weapon that could neutralize one of the most powerful threats the Germans had at their disposal, the tank. The bazooka provided American infantry units with several key strategic advantages during World War II, significantly enhancing their combat effectiveness and overall contribution to Allied victories. While tanks had traditionally been considered the cornerstone of battlefield dominance, the bazooka allowed infantry to challenge and even destroy these armored giants, shifting the balance of power in favor of the American soldiers. The versatility, portability, and ease of use of the bazooka made it a revolutionary weapon, giving infantry units the ability to operate more independently and with greater flexibility in both offensive and defensive operations. One of the most immediate advantages the bazooka offered was its ability to counter the heavily armored German tanks. Prior to the bazooka's deployment, infantry units had limited means to fight against tanks, relying on anti-tank rifles, which were often ineffective against the thick armor of German tanks like the Tiger and Panther. The bazooka, on the other hand, could easily penetrate the armor of most German tanks from a reasonable distance, allowing infantry to neutralize tank threats without relying on the slower, less mobile artillery units. This shift in tactics meant that infantry could directly engage enemy armor, giving them the confidence to move forward with greater assurance. Additionally, the bazooka's portability was a game changer. Unlike larger anti-tank weapons, which required dedicated crews and heavy transport, the bazooka was a lightweight, shoulder-fired weapon that could be carried by individual soldiers. This portability allowed infantry units to operate with greater freedom and flexibility. Soldiers could quickly maneuver into position, take out a tank, and then reposition themselves before the enemy could react. This adaptability was particularly useful in urban environments, dense forests, or areas with difficult terrain where tanks had limited maneuverability. The ability to rapidly move and fire made the bazooka an essential asset for American forces, particularly in fast-moving combat situations. In addition to its anti-tank capabilities, the bazooka was effective against other fortified positions, giving infantry units the ability to destroy machine gun nests, artillery positions, and bunkers. In the close-quarter battles that became common during the war, particularly in urban areas and the dense hedgerows of Normandy, the bazooka proved invaluable. Its ability to deliver high-impact, explosive charges into enemy positions made it one of the most versatile tools in the infantry's arsenal. Whether it was used to disable tanks, destroy fortifications, or provide support for infantry advances, the bazooka significantly broadened the range of tactics available to American soldiers. The bazooka also provided a morale boost to American infantry units. Soldiers equipped with the bazooka felt empowered by the weapon's effectiveness and its ability to level the playing field between infantry and tanks. This sense of empowerment had a direct impact on the soldiers' confidence in their ability to take on seemingly insurmountable challenges. In the heat of battle, Knowing that they had the means to destroy enemy tanks or other fortified positions gave infantry units the courage to press forward, even when facing well-entrenched German forces. The psychological advantage of the bazooka was not just limited to the Allied soldiers, it also played a significant role in undermining the morale of German forces. Another significant strategic advantage was the bazooka's ability to operate in conjunction with other elements of the American army. While artillery and air support were critical to the overall war effort, they often required coordination and careful planning, and they were not always immediately available on the front lines. The bazooka, on the other hand, was a weapon that could be deployed on short notice and without the need for heavy logistical support. This independence allowed infantry units to operate more autonomously, reducing their reliance on other arms of the military and giving them the freedom to act decisively in the heat of battle. This autonomy made the bazooka an indispensable tool for American commanders who needed to make rapid decisions and adapt to changing conditions on the battlefield. The bazooka's versatility and adaptability also meant that it was useful in a variety of situations beyond tank warfare. For example, during the Battle of the Bulge, one of the most intense and decisive battles of the war, American infantry units used bazookas effectively in both offensive and defensive operations. In the dense forests and rough terrain of the Ardennes, where tanks could not always maintain full mobility, infantry armed with bazookas were able to disrupt German armored movements and clear out fortified positions. This ability to operate effectively in difficult terrain was a crucial advantage, as it allowed American forces to neutralize German tanks and armored vehicles in areas where they would otherwise have had the upper hand. The strategic advantages of the bazooka also extended to its role in the broader context of combined arms warfare. The effectiveness of the bazooka against tanks and fortifications allowed infantry to take on roles that were previously reserved for heavier anti-tank units or artillery. This integration of the bazooka into infantry tactics not only made American forces more effective in battle, but it also helped to streamline operations by reducing the need for specialized units. This was particularly important in fast-moving campaigns, where speed and flexibility were crucial. Infantry units equipped with bazookas could advance alongside tanks and other mechanized units, providing support when needed and ensuring that enemy armor was neutralized quickly and efficiently. As the war progressed, the bazooka continued to evolve. Later versions, such as the 3.5-inch bazooka, offered increased firepower and more powerful rocket-propelled grenades. These improved versions made the bazooka even more effective against larger and more heavily armored targets, further enhancing its role on the battlefield. The introduction of the 3.5-inch bazooka gave infantry units even greater firepower, and its widespread adoption further solidified the weapon's importance in the overall strategy of the American military. In conclusion, the bazooka provided American infantry units with a strategic advantage that was both tactical and psychological. Its ability to destroy tanks and fortifications, its portability, and its versatility made it an essential weapon for the American war effort. The bazooka empowered infantrymen to engage German armor directly and effectively, giving them the confidence to take on the enemy in a way that had not been possible before. The success of the bazooka on the battlefield was a testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of the American military, and its impact was felt not just in the final stages of the war, but in the development of future anti-tank and infantry weapons as well. The psychological impact of the bazooka on German soldiers during World War II was profound, affecting both the morale of tank crews and infantry, as well as altering the way the German military approached tactics and strategy. The sudden appearance of this new, formidable anti-tank weapon caught German forces off guard, and the shock of facing a weapon capable of destroying their most advanced and heavily armored tanks was disorienting. The bazooka not only caused fear and confusion among German soldiers, but also contributed to a broader sense of vulnerability that began to permeate their ranks as the war progressed. Before the introduction of the bazooka, German tanks, particularly the Panther and Tiger, were considered nearly invincible. These tanks were heavily armored, heavily armed, and had a significant psychological advantage over their opponents. German tank crews were confident in the superiority of their machines and relied on them as the backbone of their combat strategy. When American infantry equipped with bazookas began to successfully destroy these tanks, it undermined the belief that tanks were the ultimate weapon of war. For the first time, German soldiers had to confront the reality that their tanks were no longer invulnerable to attack from infantry units. For German tank crews, the appearance of the bazooka was especially unsettling. Tank crews had been trained to engage infantry with their superior firepower and mobility, but now they faced a situation where infantry could strike back with a weapon that could disable their tanks from a distance. The bazooka made the battlefield more unpredictable and dangerous for tank crews, who could no longer approach infantry positions with the same level of confidence. The sudden vulnerability of their tanks made German tank crews more cautious and hesitant, as they were unsure where the next threat might come from. The fear of the bazooka caused tension within German armored units, as soldiers could not always discern whether their tanks were safe from attack, or if a well-placed bazooka shot could render them useless at any moment. The psychological effect of the bazooka extended beyond tank crews to the German infantry as well. The ability of American soldiers to destroy tanks and other armored vehicles without the need for heavy artillery or air support meant that infantry units could operate independently and effectively in situations where they had previously been reliant on other forms of support. German infantry, who had been used to supporting tanks and fighting alongside them, were now forced to confront a new reality in which their tanks were vulnerable and could no longer be relied upon as a constant source of support. This sense of vulnerability affected the morale of German soldiers, who found themselves questioning the effectiveness of their own forces. Additionally, the fear of the bazooka played a significant role in altering the tactics employed by German forces. German tank crews became more cautious in their movements, avoiding areas where they suspected American infantry with bazookas might be positioned. The presence of bazooka-equipped infantry caused German commanders to rethink their strategies for tank deployment and infantry support. In many cases, the Germans began to deploy infantry screens to protect tanks, or they attempted to counter the bazooka with their own anti-tank weapons, such as the Panzerschreck. However, these countermeasures were not always successful, and the psychological effect of the bazooka continued to weigh heavily on German forces throughout the war. The psychological impact of the bazooka also had a ripple effect on German morale more broadly. As the war continued, German soldiers on the front lines were increasingly aware of the technological advancements being made by the Allies. The bazooka was just one example of the growing gap between the two sides in terms of innovation and weaponry. For many German soldiers, the sight of American infantry, armed with bazookas, was a reminder that the Allies were developing new technologies at a faster rate than the Germans. This realization contributed to a sense of inevitability and despair that began to permeate the German military as the war entered its later stages. The psychological impact of facing a weapon, as simple yet effective as the bazooka, underscored the reality that the tide of the war was turning in favor of the Allies. The fear of the bazooka also affected German soldiers in terms of their personal safety. Soldiers in the front lines could not always tell where the next attack would come from, and the presence of bazooka teams made it difficult for them to feel secure in their positions. Tank crews were often forced to fight without the same level of protection they had relied on earlier in the war. Infantrymen, too, had to contend with the threat of bazooka attacks when advancing or holding positions. The ever-present possibility of encountering an enemy soldier with a bazooka added an additional layer of stress to the already difficult conditions faced by German soldiers on the front lines. In many ways, the psychological effect of the bazooka was a reflection of the broader shift in the nature of warfare during World War II. As technology advanced, new weapons like the bazooka became symbols of the growing power of infantry forces. In previous wars, tanks and artillery had dominated the battlefield, but the bazooka represented the ability of individual soldiers to challenge these behemoths. The psychological impact of this shift was significant, as it disrupted long-held beliefs about the invulnerability of tanks and the dominance of armored units. For the German soldiers who had grown accustomed to the superiority of their tanks, the bazooka was a stark reminder that no weapon was immune to technological advancement. In conclusion, the psychological impact of the bazooka on German soldiers was immense. It undermined their confidence in the invulnerability of their tanks and created a sense of vulnerability that permeated all levels of the German military. The fear and confusion caused by the bazooka were not just limited to tank crews, but affected infantry and commanders as well. As the war progressed, the psychological toll of facing this new threat contributed to a broader sense of decline in German morale. The bazooka, as a weapon of both physical and psychological warfare, played a crucial role in the eventual Allied victory by disrupting German strategies and weakening their resolve. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, as the supreme commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force during World War II, was tasked with overseeing the strategic direction of the Allied forces in Europe. His leadership played a pivotal role in coordinating the vast array of military resources available to the Allies, ensuring that they were used to their maximum potential. One of the most notable aspects of Eisenhower's command was his ability to foster innovation and support the development of new technologies that could tip the balance of power on the battlefield. Among these innovations was the bazooka, a weapon that would become a key tool in the Allied arsenal and contribute to the eventual victory over Nazi Germany. Eisenhower's relationship with the development of innovative weapons, like the bazooka, was grounded in his understanding of the importance of technological superiority in modern warfare. Throughout the war, Eisenhower worked closely with his staff, scientists, and engineers to ensure that the United States and its allies had the best possible equipment to face the Axis powers. He recognized that technological advancements were crucial to gaining an edge over the Germans, who were known for their own sophisticated military technology, particularly their tanks and armored vehicles. Eisenhower's appreciation for the value of innovation was evident in his support for weapons like the bazooka, which provided the Allies with an unexpected advantage in the fight against the German military. While Eisenhower did not personally invent the bazooka, his leadership was instrumental in ensuring that such innovative weapons were effectively developed, tested, and deployed. The development of the bazooka was the result of collaboration between military engineers, scientists, and industrial leaders, all of whom understood the importance of creating a weapon that could counter the powerful German tanks. Eisenhower's role in this process was one of oversight and encouragement, ensuring that resources were allocated to weapons development and that the resulting innovations were rapidly integrated into military operations. His leadership style was focused on empowering those under his command to innovate and solve the complex challenges of warfare, making him a key figure in the development of the bazooka. The decision to deploy the bazooka during major campaigns, including D-Day, was also a direct result of Eisenhower's strategic vision. Eisenhower understood the challenges posed by the heavily fortified German defenses, particularly the tanks that were positioned to defend key locations across Europe. In the lead up to the D-Day invasion, he and his staff understood that defeating the German tank threat was paramount to the success of the operation. While traditional methods like artillery bombardments and airstrikes were already part of the Allied strategy, the bazooka provided an additional tool that infantry units could use to directly engage and destroy German tanks on the battlefield. Eisenhower's ability to recognize the value of such innovations, even those that initially seemed like unconventional solutions, was one of the reasons for his success as a military leader. Moreover, Eisenhower's leadership facilitated the rapid deployment of new technologies into combat situations. One of the challenges that Allied forces faced during the war was the need to maintain flexibility and adapt quickly to changing conditions on the battlefield. The bazooka was a prime example of this adaptability. The weapon's portability and ease of use allowed it to be integrated quickly into infantry tactics, providing soldiers with a tool they could carry and use in a variety of combat scenarios. Eisenhower's ability to recognize the potential of the bazooka and other innovative weapons, and then ensure their rapid deployment, gave Allied infantry units a strategic advantage over their German counterparts. Eisenhower's support for technological innovation also extended beyond the bazooka to other groundbreaking weapons and tactics used during the war. For example, he was a key advocate for the development and deployment of the long-range bomber, which played a critical role in the Allied bombing campaign against Germany. Additionally, Eisenhower was involved in overseeing the development of radar technology, which significantly enhanced the Allies' ability to detect and engage German aircraft. His focus on technological advancement was not limited to one specific weapon or strategy, but was part of a broader approach to warfare that sought to harness every available advantage. Eisenhower's leadership in supporting the bazooka and other technological innovations was rooted in his understanding of the war's evolving nature. By the time of D-Day, the nature of warfare had shifted dramatically from the World War era tactics of trench warfare to a more mobile and mechanized style of combat. Tanks, mechanized infantry, and air support had become dominant forces on the battlefield. However, Eisenhower recognized that the Allies needed to stay ahead of the technological curve to counter the growing power of German tanks and other armored vehicles. The bazooka, with its ability to take out tanks and fortifications with relative ease, was a perfect example of the kind of innovation that could help the Allies overcome these challenges. Eisenhower's approach to leadership also emphasized the importance of cooperation among the various Allied forces. The development and deployment of the bazooka were not solely an American endeavor, but were part of a larger Allied effort to improve battlefield capabilities. Eisenhower's ability to coordinate the efforts of different nations, including the United Kingdom, Canada, and other allies, ensured that the bazooka was used effectively across a wide range of theaters of war. This international cooperation was key to the success of the Allied war effort and the ultimate defeat of Nazi Germany. Furthermore, Eisenhower's relationship with the bazooka exemplified his pragmatic approach to military leadership. He understood that victory in World War II would not come from traditional methods alone, but would require a multifaceted approach that included technological innovation, effective leadership, and the coordination of diverse resources. The bazooka, along with other advancements in military technology, played an essential role in the Allies' ability to overcome German technological advantages and ultimately win the war. In conclusion, while Dwight D. Eisenhower was not directly involved in the invention of the bazooka, his leadership and strategic foresight were critical to its successful development and deployment. Eisenhower's emphasis on innovation, adaptability, and cooperation among the Allies helped ensure that the bazooka became an essential tool in the defeat of Nazi Germany. His ability to recognize the importance of new technologies and integrate them into the broader Allied strategy was a key factor in the success of the war effort. The relationship between Eisenhower and the bazooka is a testament to his leadership and vision, which helped to shape the outcome of World War II and change the nature of warfare in the 20th century. The bazooka was not only an effective anti-tank weapon, but also played a pivotal role in urban warfare and close-quarter battles during World War II. As the Allies advanced through Europe, particularly in the liberation of cities such as Paris and the intense battles in the dense forests and villages of Normandy, the tactical application of the bazooka became even more critical. Urban warfare, with its narrow streets, alleys, and fortified buildings, posed a unique set of challenges for Allied forces. In such environments, tanks and armored vehicles, while still formidable, were less effective due to the lack of open spaces for maneuvering. Here, the bazooka proved itself to be an indispensable tool for American and Allied infantry, giving them the ability to directly engage and neutralize German armor and fortified positions in ways that were not possible with traditional weapons. One of the key advantages of the bazooka in urban combat was its portability and ease of use. Unlike heavier anti-tank guns or artillery pieces, which required extensive setup and larger crews, the bazooka could be carried by individual soldiers. This made it ideal for the chaotic and unpredictable conditions of urban warfare, where flexibility and rapid response were essential. Soldiers could quickly move through the city, take cover behind rubble or buildings, and fire at enemy tanks or fortified positions. The bazooka's portability meant that infantry units could operate without being encumbered by the heavy equipment typically required for anti-tank operations. In urban environments, where tanks could be ambushed or blocked by debris, rubble, and narrow streets, the bazooka allowed infantry to exploit the vulnerabilities of enemy armor. German tanks, particularly the powerful Panther and Tiger models, were incredibly effective on open fields or in more traditional battle settings, but in cities, their size and weight became liabilities. Tanks could be caught in confined spaces, unable to maneuver effectively or protect their vulnerable sides and rear. The bazooka's design allowed infantry to target these weak spots, disabling or destroying the tanks from a safe distance, often without the tank crew even realizing where the threat originated. The dense urban landscape also presented a unique opportunity for the bazooka in terms of surprise and ambush tactics. Urban warfare often involved close-quarters combat, with both sides fighting for control of individual buildings, streets, or neighborhoods. In these situations, the ability of infantry to hide and ambush enemy forces was crucial. The bazooka's portability and ease of concealment made it a perfect weapon for such ambushes. Soldiers could conceal themselves in buildings, behind street corners, or even within rubble piles, and launch a bazooka attack when the enemy was within range. This gave the Allies a tactical advantage over German tanks, which were often forced to operate in areas where they were less able to defend themselves. Moreover, the bazooka was also highly effective against fortified positions, which were a hallmark of German defensive strategies. As the Allies pushed deeper into occupied Europe, they encountered a series of strongpoints and fortifications that had been constructed by the Germans to defend key positions. These included pillboxes, machine gun nests, and other entrenched positions designed to make it difficult for infantry to advance. The bazooka's powerful rocket-propelled grenades could be used to destroy or neutralize these strongpoints, allowing Allied infantry to continue their advance without being pinned down by entrenched German forces. The ability to break through these fortifications without the need for heavy artillery or airstrikes made the bazooka an essential tool for infantry fighting in urban areas. In addition to its anti-tank and anti-fortification capabilities, the bazooka also played a role in clearing out machine gun nests and other defensive positions. German troops often relied on entrenched positions, using machine guns to defend against advancing infantry. These machine gun positions were often placed in buildings or behind cover, making them difficult to target with standard small arms fire. The bazooka's ability to launch a high, explosive warhead directly into these positions allowed infantry to eliminate the threat posed by machine guns and other entrenched defenders. This capability to neutralize fortified positions with relative ease made the bazooka a key asset for American and Allied infantry units in urban environments. The bazooka's role in close-quarter battles was also enhanced by its psychological impact. As German forces began to realize the effectiveness of the bazooka in urban combat, they became more cautious and hesitant. The fear of being ambushed by infantry armed with bazookas led to increased caution among German tank crews and infantry. This psychological effect compounded the bazooka's effectiveness, as German forces were less likely to move aggressively into urban areas where the threat of an unexpected bazooka attack was high. This shift in German tactics helped to give the Allies an edge, as it allowed them to seize the initiative in urban combat. Furthermore, the versatility of the bazooka meant that it could be used effectively in a variety of combat situations. In addition to its role in urban warfare, the bazooka was equally effective in rural or forested areas, such as the hedgerows of Normandy. In these environments, tanks and armored vehicles were often limited in their mobility due to the dense terrain. The bazooka's ability to target tanks from concealed positions, even in difficult terrain, made it an ideal weapon for infantry operating in the hedgerows and other restricted areas. Soldiers could take advantage of the terrain to hide and launch surprise attacks on German armor, further enhancing the tactical flexibility of the bazooka. In the broader scope of the war, the bazooka's effectiveness in urban warfare and close-quarter battles helped to shift the balance of power between the Allies and the Germans. As the Allies liberated more cities and towns across Europe, The bazooka played a crucial role in breaking the German defensive lines and forcing German forces to adapt to new tactics. The weapon's versatility, portability, and psychological impact made it an indispensable tool for the success of Allied infantry. The tactical use of the bazooka in urban warfare and close quarter battles also had a lasting influence on military tactics in subsequent conflicts. The lessons learned from the effective use of the bazooka in World War II helped to shape the development of future anti-tank and anti-fortification weapons. The ability of infantry to operate independently and effectively in urban and close quarter combat settings became a key element of modern military doctrine. The bazooka, as a weapon of both offensive and defensive capabilities, demonstrated the value of technological innovation in providing soldiers with the means to engage and neutralize even the most powerful enemies. In conclusion, the bazooka's role in urban warfare and close quarter battles was one of the most significant factors in its success during World War II. Its portability, versatility, and effectiveness against tanks, fortifications, and entrenched positions made it an invaluable tool for Allied infantry in the liberation of Europe. The bazooka not only gave infantry the ability to counter German armor, but also provided them with the means to clear out enemy strongpoints and secure key urban areas. Its tactical impact was felt across the European theater and helped to shape the outcome of the war. The bazooka's journey from a simple, makeshift weapon to a sophisticated and effective anti-tank tool during World War II is a testament to the rapid pace of innovation in warfare. Over the course of the conflict, the bazooka underwent a series of design improvements and refinements that enhanced its performance, increasing its effectiveness against German tanks and fortifications. The evolution of the bazooka didn't end with World War II, as its design and concept would influence anti-tank and infantry weapons in subsequent decades. This evolution highlights the adaptability of military technology and the critical role of innovation in shaping the outcome of conflicts. Initially, the bazooka was conceived as a straightforward, portable weapon designed to counter the increasingly powerful German tanks, which were proving difficult for conventional infantry weapons to defeat. The first versions of the bazooka were rudimentary but effective. Early models were essentially simple launchers that fired a rocket-propelled grenade as RPG. The original 2.36-inch M1 bazooka, introduced in 1942, was lightweight and easy to use, but it had limitations in terms of range, power, and accuracy. These limitations became more apparent as the war progressed, particularly as the Germans deployed heavier and better armored tanks such as the Tiger and Panther. The earliest versions of the bazooka were equipped with a smaller, less powerful warhead that could penetrate the armor of early German tanks. However, as the Germans adapted and developed even more advanced tank designs, the Allies recognized that the bazooka's effectiveness had to be enhanced. The first significant upgrade came in 1943 with the development of the 3.5-inch M9 bazooka, which featured a larger and more powerful warhead. The larger warhead increased the penetration capabilities of the bazooka, allowing it to deal more effectively with the heavily armored German tanks. The 3.5-inch bazooka, which became the standard anti-tank weapon for American infantry units, also had a longer range and improved accuracy compared to the earlier models. The M9 version of the bazooka was also easier to handle, with better sights and an improved firing mechanism that made it more reliable and efficient in combat. As the war continued, American engineers refined the design further, increasing the power of the rocket, propelled grenades, and enhancing the weapon's durability. By the end of World War II, the bazooka had evolved into a much more effective and versatile weapon that could be used against not only tanks but also infantry, fortifications, and machine gun positions. During the war, the effectiveness of the bazooka in combat led to its widespread adoption and the production of large numbers of these weapons. At its peak, American forces were producing thousands of bazookas each month, ensuring that infantry units on the front lines were well equipped to deal with the German tank threat. The widespread availability of the bazooka was a significant factor in its success during the war. It was easy to transport and required minimal training to use effectively, which made it accessible to a wide range of soldiers. This mass production and deployment helped ensure that the bazooka played a key role in many of the major campaigns in Europe, from D-Day through the final push into Germany. As the war drew to a close, the bazooka's role in combat continued to evolve. The weapon's effectiveness against tanks remained a key aspect of its utility, but its use expanded to other applications as well. The bazooka was used to destroy enemy fortifications, machine gun nests, and even sniper positions, further cementing its role as a versatile tool for infantry units. It was deployed in a variety of combat situations, from urban warfare to dense forests, where its ability to provide immediate firepower made it an essential asset for advancing Allied forces. After the war, the concept behind the bazooka continued to influence military thinking and the development of new anti-tank weapons. The bazooka's portability and ability to deliver powerful, concentrated fire against armored vehicles made it a precursor to the development of modern rocket-propelled grenade, RPG systems, which would become standard issue for infantry units in future conflicts. The basic principles behind the bazooka, lightweight, easy to use, and capable of taking out armored targets, would remain central to the design of subsequent anti-tank weapons, many of which would be used by armies around the world in the decades following World War II. One of the most significant developments that followed the bazooka was the RPG-7, a Soviet-designed anti-tank weapon that entered service in the early 1960s. Although the RPG-7 was a more advanced system with a much higher degree of sophistication, its fundamental design and function were based on the concepts pioneered by the bazooka during World War II. The RPG-7, like the bazooka, was portable and capable of firing powerful rocket-propelled grenades designed to penetrate armored targets. The success of the bazooka during World War II demonstrated the effectiveness of such weapons in modern warfare, and the RPG-7 would go on to become one of the most widely used anti-tank weapons in the world. In the post-WWII era, the concept of portable anti-tank weapons continued to evolve in response to changing battlefield conditions. While the bazooka was initially designed to counter tanks, its principles were expanded to address a variety of modern warfare scenarios, including urban combat, counterinsurgency operations, and anti-terrorism efforts. As the nature of warfare changed, so too did the need for more advanced and versatile anti-tank weapons. The bazooka's legacy helped pave the way for the development of a wide range of modern infantry weapons, designed to counter increasingly sophisticated armor and combat vehicles. Despite the development of more advanced systems like the RPG-7, the bazooka's influence on the evolution of infantry weaponry remained significant. The principle of using portable, rocket-propelled grenades to destroy armored vehicles or fortified positions would remain central to the development of modern anti-tank systems. The bazooka also laid the groundwork for the development of modern guided missiles, which offer greater range and accuracy compared to their predecessors. However, the basic concept of the bazooka, its portability, simplicity, and effectiveness, continues to be a critical component in the design of anti-tank and anti-fortification weapons to this day. In conclusion, the evolution of the bazooka during and after World War II highlights the rapid pace of military innovation and the importance of technological advancements in shaping the outcome of conflicts. From its humble beginnings as a simple anti-tank weapon to its role as a versatile tool for infantry units, the bazooka was a testament to the ingenuity of the soldiers, engineers, and commanders who helped refine and deploy it. Its legacy has continued to influence military technology, paving the way for future innovations in anti-tank and infantry weapons. The bazooka, both during the war and in the years that followed, remains a symbol of the power of innovation in modern warfare. The bazooka's impact on military strategy and weaponry was not limited to its use in World War II. The success of the bazooka against German tanks and fortifications demonstrated the need for portable, infantry-based anti-tank weapons, and it laid the groundwork for the development of future anti-tank systems. In the decades following the war, the lessons learned from the bazooka's design, deployment, and effectiveness influenced the development of more advanced and sophisticated anti-tank weapons used by military forces around the world. The evolution of anti-tank technology, from the bazooka to modern guided missile systems, is a direct result of the principles pioneered by this iconic weapon. One of the primary lessons learned from the bazooka was the importance of portability. The bazooka's design allowed individual soldiers to carry and deploy a powerful anti-tank weapon without the need for specialized equipment or support. This portability was a key factor in its success, as it allowed infantry units to engage tanks and armored vehicles on the move, often from concealed positions. This concept of portability became a cornerstone of future anti-tank weaponry. In the years following World War II, military engineers focused on creating lightweight, man-portable systems that could be operated by a single soldier or small team, ensuring that anti-tank weapons could be deployed quickly and effectively in a wide range of combat situations. The bazooka's success also highlighted the need for weapons capable of delivering high, explosive, armor-piercing payloads at relatively short ranges. While the bazooka was initially limited by its relatively low range and penetration capabilities compared to larger artillery or anti-tank guns, it demonstrated the value of rocket-propelled grenades, RPGs, for infantry units. This concept of using rocket-based projectiles to defeat armored targets would be refined in future anti-tank systems, with engineers developing more advanced rocket technology to increase range, accuracy, and effectiveness. In the early years following World War II, many of the world's military powers began to develop and refine their own portable anti-tank systems. The Soviet Union, for example, developed the RPG-7 in the early 1960s, which was based on the principles pioneered by the bazooka. The RPG-7 was a significant advancement over the bazooka, offering greater range, improved accuracy, and more powerful warheads. Like the bazooka, the RPG-7 was a shoulder-fired weapon that could be used by individual infantry soldiers, and it quickly became one of the most widely used anti-tank weapons in the world. The RPG-7's influence is still felt today, as it remains in service with numerous military forces, including in asymmetric conflicts and urban warfare scenarios. In the United States, the lessons learned from the bazooka also influenced the development of future anti-tank weapons. The development of guided missile systems, such as the Teobals tube-launched, optically tracked wire-guided missile, was directly inspired by the need for more accurate and long-range anti-tank capabilities. The TOW missile, introduced in the 1970s, was a significant leap forward in anti-tank technology. Unlike the bazooka or RPG-7, which relied on unguided rockets, the TOW missile featured an advanced guidance system that allowed infantry units to engage tanks at much greater distances with a high degree of accuracy. The TOW missile's effectiveness against modern armored vehicles has made it a key component of U.S. Army and Marine Corps anti-tank operations. The influence of the bazooka is also seen in the development of more modern man-portable anti-tank guided missiles, ATGMs, such as the Javelin missile, which has become a standard anti-tank weapon for many modern militaries. The Javelin, introduced in the 1990s, represents a further refinement of the principles first established by the bazooka. It is a fire-and-forget system, meaning that once launched, the missile locks onto its target and requires no further guidance from the operator. This allows the operator to seek cover immediately after launching the missile, reducing their exposure to enemy fire. The Javelin has proven highly effective in both conventional warfare and counter-insurgency operations, and its design reflects the lessons learned from the bazooka in terms of portability, ease of use, and effectiveness against armored targets. The concept of infantry-based anti-tank weapons has continued to evolve as military technology has advanced. Modern anti-tank missiles, such as the Javelin and Spike, are designed not only to engage tanks, but also to target other heavily armored vehicles, bunkers, and fortifications. These systems are capable of engaging targets at extended ranges, offering significant advantages over the bazooka's relatively short effective range. They are also equipped with more sophisticated guidance systems, including infrared homing and laser guidance, allowing them to hit targets with greater precision and reliability. The bazooka's influence on the development of anti-tank weapons is not limited to its role as a model for future rocket-propelled systems. It also helped establish the idea of a multi-role, portable anti-tank weapon that could be used by infantry in a variety of scenarios. In modern warfare, anti-tank weapons are not only used to destroy tanks, but also to target armored personnel carriers, trucks, helicopters, and other military vehicles. The bazooka's legacy is seen in the development of weapons that are designed to provide infantry with the ability to engage a wide range of targets, making them an essential part of modern military strategy. In addition to its influence on the development of anti-tank weapons, the bazooka also played a key role in shaping military doctrine and tactics. The success of the bazooka in World War II demonstrated the value of combining infantry with powerful anti-armor weapons, allowing soldiers to engage enemy armor without relying solely on heavier artillery or air support. This shift in tactics contributed to the growing emphasis on combined arms warfare, in which infantry, tanks, artillery, and air support work together to achieve battlefield success. The bazooka helped pave the way for the development of tactics that integrate portable anti-tank weapons into infantry operations, giving soldiers the flexibility to deal with armored threats in a variety of environments. The continued development of anti-tank technology, from the bazooka to modern guided missiles, reflects the evolving nature of warfare and the increasing reliance on technology to overcome battlefield challenges. The principles established by the bazooka, portability, ease of use, and the ability to deliver a powerful anti-armor punch, remain central to the design of modern anti-tank systems. As military technology continues to advance, the legacy of the bazooka will continue to influence the development of future weapons designed to counter the ever-growing power of armored vehicles on the battlefield. In conclusion, the bazooka's influence on the development of future anti-tank weapons cannot be overstated. Its portability, effectiveness, and role in shaping modern anti-tank doctrine laid the foundation for the development of advanced rocket-propelled grenades, guided missiles, and multi-role infantry weapons used in modern warfare. The evolution of anti-tank weaponry, from the bazooka to today's most sophisticated systems, is a testament to the enduring legacy of this iconic World War II weapon. The bazooka's legacy in modern warfare is profound, extending far beyond its initial use in World War II. As one of the most iconic and effective weapons of the war, the bazooka's influence can be seen in the development of a variety of modern military technologies and strategies. Its simplicity, portability, and effectiveness against tanks and fortifications have inspired the design of contemporary anti-tank weapons, and its lessons have been integrated into the way modern armies conduct operations. The bazooka's legacy also serves as a reminder of how technological innovations can drastically alter the course of military conflicts and reshape strategies on the battlefield. One of the most significant aspects of the bazooka's legacy is its role in the development of modern man-portable anti-tank weapons. The principle of using portable, shoulder-fired systems to destroy tanks was revolutionized by the bazooka, and subsequent advancements in anti-tank technology have built upon this foundation. Weapons like the RPG-7 Javelin and Spike missile all trace their roots to the concept pioneered by the bazooka. These systems have evolved to offer greater range, accuracy, and explosive power, but their core concept of being lightweight, portable, and effective against armored vehicles remains the same. The bazooka's impact on the evolution of anti-tank technology is one of its most lasting contributions to modern warfare. In addition to its influence on anti-tank weapons, the bazooka's legacy is also seen in the way infantry units are equipped and trained to deal with armored threats. In the years following World War II, military forces around the world recognized the value of having portable, easy-to-use anti-armor weapons available at the squad level. This concept of equipping infantry with weapons capable of taking on tanks without relying on heavier artillery or air support has become a central tenet of modern military doctrine. The bazooka's ability to allow infantry to operate independently and destroy armored vehicles was revolutionary, and it continues to shape the way modern militaries approach armored warfare. The bazooka also had a profound effect on the evolution of urban warfare tactics. In World War II, as the Allies advanced through cities like Paris and Berlin, the bazooka's ability to destroy tanks and fortifications in dense urban environments proved invaluable. Since then, the principles of urban combat have continued to evolve, and portable anti-tank weapons have remained crucial for infantry fighting in cities. In modern warfare, urban centers are often battlegrounds where tanks and armored vehicles face limitations due to restricted mobility. The bazooka's success in these conditions helped establish the importance of lightweight, portable anti-armor systems in urban combat. The development of modern infantry anti-tank weapons reflects the enduring need for weapons that can operate effectively in these environments, where tanks and heavy artillery are often less effective. Moreover, the bazooka's influence can also be seen in the rise of asymmetrical warfare. In conflicts involving insurgent groups, guerrilla forces, and irregular warfare, the ability for non-state actors to effectively engage armored vehicles has become a critical component of their combat capabilities. Modern weapons like the RPG-7 and other shoulder-fired rockets allow smaller, mobile forces to take on much larger and better-equipped opponents, similar to how the bazooka allowed smaller Allied infantry units to challenge the might of the German armored divisions. The bazooka's legacy of providing infantry with a tool to combat tanks and fortified positions has been passed on to these modern systems, which continue to be used in conflicts worldwide. The psychological impact of the bazooka also extends to modern warfare. Just as the German forces were shocked and demoralized by the bazooka during World War II, modern military forces are aware of the threat posed by portable anti-tank weapons. The existence of these weapons on the battlefield forces tank crews to operate with greater caution and awareness, knowing that even a small, mobile unit can disable or destroy their vehicle. The fear of a bazooka, like weapon or its modern counterparts, continues to influence the way armored vehicles are deployed and operated in combat zones. In both conventional and asymmetrical conflicts, the threat of infantry-activated tank weapons forces military strategists to consider the vulnerability of armored units more seriously. The legacy of the bazooka in modern warfare is also evident in the integration of modern anti-tank weapons into combined arms operations. In World War II, the bazooka was used alongside tanks, artillery, and air support to achieve military objectives. Today, modern anti-tank weapons are integrated into multi-dimensional military strategies, where infantry, artillery, and air forces collaborate in combat operations. The bazooka, as a tool that allowed infantry to independently take on armored vehicles, demonstrated the importance of giving ground troops the tools they needed to handle a range of threats without always relying on heavier artillery or external support. This lesson is still a key element of modern military doctrine, particularly in combined arms tactics where flexibility and adaptability are crucial to success. In modern conflicts, the importance of maintaining a technological edge on the battlefield is as crucial as ever. The bazooka's role in World War II served as an early example of how innovation can dramatically alter the balance of power on the battlefield. It set the stage for the continuous advancement of anti-tank weaponry and showed how a simple yet effective design could be leveraged to make a significant impact in a conflict. The bazooka's legacy reminds us that military technology does not have to be overwhelmingly complex to be effective. Sometimes, the simplest ideas can lead to revolutionary advancements in warfare. Finally, the bazooka's legacy also extends to the broader field of infantry weaponry. Its success helped pave the way for other innovations in portable, individual weapons for soldiers. From grenade launchers to modern handheld rocket systems, the principles of portability, ease of use, and battlefield effectiveness that were demonstrated by the bazooka have influenced the design and deployment of a wide variety of infantry weapons in the years since. The bazooka's success also contributed to the idea that well-equipped, well-trained infantry can be a decisive force in modern warfare, capable of taking on a wide range of threats, from armored vehicles to fortifications, without relying on support from larger, more complex systems. In conclusion, the legacy of the bazooka in modern warfare is enduring and multifaceted. From its influence on the development of modern anti-tank missiles and infantry weapons to its impact on military tactics and combined arms operations, the bazooka helped shape the way modern armies approach armored warfare, urban combat, and irregular warfare. Its design principles continue to inspire the development of new technologies, and its legacy serves as a reminder of how innovative thinking and simple, effective solutions can have a lasting impact on the course of history. The bazooka, in many ways, represents the power of technological ingenuity and the enduring importance of adaptability in warfare.